you would have to acknowledge that the man has handled himself so superbly, so logically, and he's been such a critical thinker and so level-headed. It's really hard to pin anything on him. And I think proof positive of that, I'm going to start here. I want to show you the clips that the left are circulating. I found these either on HuffPo or BuzzFeed that they see as victories against Gorsuch. So I want to show you their best hand where the left is going, oh, Al Franken just nailed Gorsuch. So I'm not hiding from you and showing you the highlight reel. I'm showing you the low light reel as far as they're concerned. And then we'll get into a few more clips from Gorsuch. But let's start with Senator Smalley, Al Franken. This is the one making the rounds on the leftist websites.
You were very politically active. So in light of that, I'd like to ask my question.
Oh, wait, pause.
Again.
Just pause real quick. Just so you know, before this, we can pause it, right? In real time. Yeah. Senator Franken was trying to hit him with all kinds of legalese, talking about the absurdity doctrine and talking about his history in politics, Neil Gorsuch's history in politics before he was a justice. So he was really trying to corner him. We just couldn't show the 14-minute diatribe that was delivered before that because I think this is the most relevant information, and we'll comment as we go live. Okay, continue.
Merrick Garland was treated fairly by the United States Senate.
Senator, a couple of things in response to that, if I might. Going back, the absurdity doctrine argument was never presented to the court, and it usually applies in cases where there's a Scrivener's error, not when we just disagree with the policy of the statute. So I appreciate the opportunity to respond there.
Watch.
When there's a Scrivener there.
Scrivener's error.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so the two faces. The face from Gorsuch is like, I can't believe how dumb you are.
With respect to...
Well,
and Al Franken is, oh, crap.
Interpretation.
Oh, he's got a pamphlet.
Got a big word. Statutory.
The Notre Dame Law School National Institute for Trial Advocacy. This is a pretty well-known exception to the plain meaning rule, and I think you can apply it without it. I mean,
pause.
Don't you think it's
that moment where you try to educate an Ivy League lawyer on what the law means?
Why does he have to drag Notre Dame into this?
Gosh, it's just he goes to his pamphlet. So here's something that's important. You'll see, tries to start off with legalese, tries to start off with legal arguments, and you'll see once that doesn't stick, he goes full Cenk, he goes full Young Turks, full MSNBC, and gets personal and pivots and pivots and pivots. And I say this because this is what the left is sending out as a highlight. I want you to watch for the pivoting techniques that you now see in the dance that is the Al Franken waltz.
Absurd that this man was given that choice and then fired for it? Don't you think that was absurd?
Senator, my heart goes out to him.
Okay, never mind.
My heart goes out to that. It's just not my job to write that.
How do you think Merrick Garland was treated by the Republicans?
Senator, since I became a judge 10 years ago, I have a canon of ethics that precludes me from getting involved in any way, shape, or form in politics. There's a reason why judges don't clap at the State of the Union.
Oh.
And why I can't even attend a political caucus.
This is an education here. Important information.
In the equivalent of a primary.
Okay, but I don't think that this is you have to state your political views. That's not what this is about. How a Supreme Court justice who is nominated by the President of the United States. This is like in the Constitution.
Is it in your pamphlet?
I think you're allowed to talk about what happened to the last
It's a politically
guy
charged question, and he just got done accusing him of being politically motivated for things he said before he was a justice.
Involved in politics. You can express an opinion on this.
Senator, I appreciate the invitation, but I know the other side has their views of this, and your side has your views of it. That, by definition, is politics.
Okay.
And Senator, judges have to stay outside of politics. I think the world of Merrick Garland. I think he's an outstanding judge.
Okay, I understand.
I've told you what I think.
I understand. Thank you. Thank you. I don't mean to cut you off, but, we have time.
Well, I think yours is running out. Senator Franken.
Never get snooty with somebody who's smarter than you.
So let's go through that right away. He goes through legalese. He talks about the absurdity doctrine. He tries to talk about the plain interpretation. I don't remember the legal term that he's talking about there. So he tries to ask Gorsuch about this. In other words, trying to corner him legally. He answers legally, educates him on the Scrivener there.
A scribbler?
A scribbler. So Gorsuch says, thank you, educates him. And then as the education is taking place, he goes right to, wait, but what did you think about how Republicans treated Merrick Garland? So we've gone from a factual argument to an opinionative argument. And then he tries to go back to a factual argument with his pamphlet. And then when Gorsuch tries to answer that again, he goes to, okay, I get it. Hey, he goes, and the one last ditch, his last ditch effort is, can I get you to trash Merrick Garland? He's like, I think he's a fantastic judge.
Let's get lost in the weeds.
And the left sees this, HuffPo and BuzzFeed see this as a victory. I don't know, you can tweet me at @SCrowder. Do you think that was a stellar performance for Al Franken? I'm trying to remove my biased glasses. Obviously, I'm conservative. I'm open about that. But I watched that and I was going, this is your A material?
Dang.
If that's the A material, their B material. This one is more popular on the feminist websites because it's none other than Dianne Feinstein. She tried to corner him on a question regarding the Second Amendment. Again, these are the... Oh, wait, no. Are we doing that one right now?
Yep.
Yeah, Dianne Feinstein. These are the highlights. This is what, if you were reading liberal sites, they are sending around. Feinstein.
Do you agree with that statement, that under the Second Amendment, weapons that are most useful in military service, M16 rifles and the like, may be banned?
Pause. And the like is somewhat pivotal when it comes to law. Someone would say that umbrella of and the like is probably the key point in this phrase. And the like. Well, let me answer your question. Hold on a second. What bullshit are you fitting in and the like? Can I ask that first? And the like. Well, what is and the like? Well, you know, AK-47s, AR-15s, nuclear bombs. Well, see, hold on. That changes. So it's important. They always leave themselves a little backdoor out there. She was hoping to, but guess what? It didn't work. Roll clip.
Senator Heller makes clear the standard that we judges are supposed to apply. The question is whether it's a gun in common use for self-defense.
You following me?
And that may be subject to reasonable regulation. That's the test, as I understand it. There's lots of ongoing litigation about which weapons qualify under those standards. And I can't prejudge that litigation.
No, I'm just asking you, do you agree with his statement? Yes or no?
Are there statements out of the Heller decision from the United States?
Justice Scalia's statement.
Well, whatever's in Heller is the law, and I follow the law. Well, it's not a matter of agreeing or disagreeing, Senator, respectfully. It's a matter of it being the law. And my job is to apply and enforce the law.
Here's the reason the left sees this as a victory. It's because they are inherently anti-constitutionalist.
Yes.
They are inherently anti-originalist. Almost every answer you can expect from Gorsuch here has been, this is the law, this is the appropriate role of a justice. This isn't. This is what the Constitution says. This is what we're supposed to do as justices. Well, what do you think about high capacity They don't like that he is actually a constitutionalist, because that answer is so... Any lawyer would have to watch and say, well, that's probably the proper answer. Any constitutional historian would have to look at that and say, well, you know what, that's actually the proper answer. The left looks at it and goes, he didn't say he would ban guns. He didn't say he would ban and the like.
Notice they didn't ask for his opinion on Roe v. Wade and other such cases.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Well, justices are not supposed to make law. They're supposed to interpret law. Remember when Roberts rewrote Obamacare, essentially making it pass instead of sending it back like it should, and we got all up in arms? They're doing the exact same thing. They want him to make law basically from the bench instead of just interpret it. He's like, no, I'll just interpret it. Oh, that's not good enough.
Yeah. And something that's very important, by the way, when you need to understand this. We've talked about this in our Second Amendment video, the Heller versus DC case. I think, was it 2008, 2006? Either 06, 08, or 09. The votes against, Heller versus DC.
Yes.
So basically what it says is that you have, as a private citizen, the right to carry a firearm. What's important is the only legal argument against that. We've talked about this several times. It wasn't about certain weapons or a magazine ban. The only legal arguments, not on message boards, but that can be made in the Supreme Court, were that actually, no, I have to vote against this because I don't believe that private citizens have the right to bear firearms at all.
It's the only other interpretation.
That's the only other interpretation is that a well-regulated militia means state guard, national. It does not mean a private citizen has a right to own a gun at all. So when they say you're crazy because you're thinking people are coming for your guns, 4 justices want to come for your guns. So read up on that case. It's a very important case, and it gives you great insight as to what the left actually can argue legally.
Heller versus DC, very important.
Very important. We've talked about that. And then finally, this is not one that the left was circulating as a victory, but just because he had to eat a big old pile of crap, here's Dick Durbin trying to set him up with a question that he heard somebody say he asked in a class. Spoiler alert, it doesn't go well for him.
So I just want to ask you to confirm. Did you ask your students in class that day to raise their hands if they knew of a woman who had taken maternity benefits from a company and then left the company after having a baby?
Suppose an older partner woman at the firm.
I just want you to confirm, do some students not like you?
If you intend to become pregnant soon. What are your choices as a young person? You can say yes, tell the truth, and not get the job. You can lie, maybe get the job. You can say no, or you can push back in some way, shape, or form. And we talk about the pros and the cons in a Socratic dialogue. And Senator, I do ask for a show of hands, not about the question you asked, but about the following question. And I ask it of everybody. How many of you have had questions like this asked of you in the employment environment? An inappropriate question about your family planning. And I am shocked every year, Senator, how many young women raise their hand. It's disturbing to me.
And after that, Durbin goes, oh yeah, it's just someone said you maybe asked this. I figured I had to.
Of course.
Lunch break, I brought tuna. I love it. He's in, so you're saying, no, you're saying exactly what I agree with. It's just amazing, the setups. And I will tell you this, I know that I couldn't navigate the minefield that they're laying for him. I know none of us could, because someone would have their neck just wrung. Just, Dick Durbin. So how he handled himself, I will say this, I didn't know a ton about Gorsuch outside of his opinions on life, Second Amendment, that he was a constitutionalist, all of which I liked. But, it's hard to get a feel for someone's temperament just reading his history. Mm-hmm. Watching these, and I highly recommend you watch as much footage as you can, I think the guy has the perfect temperament to be an even-handed judge. Hey, if you like this video, subscribe by clicking the button. It's a circular button now that says subscribe. If not, head on over to the Young Turks. That's probably more your speed. Although they're coming over at Cenk, we know you're here watching. I can smell you from here. There's also a recommended video box playing right up there. You can join the Mug Club at louderwithcrowder.com/mugclub for daily content, so we're not dependent here on YouTube. Cenk, go. You don't need to stay here. This isn't good for, it's bad for your soul.